If you ask yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I fulfill my potential? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Lifestyle, Relationships, and Career Human Design Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja from vanessanaja.com. My mission is to help you be on purpose and fulfill your potential by aligning in body, mind, and spirit so you can feel empowered, joyful, connected, and free. I'm so excited to share with you how to do that through human design. If it feels aligned, I'd love it if you subscribe and share. Now let's get to the episode. It's always a good idea to have your human design chart with you when listening. You can get yours for free at my website, vanessanaja.com/free chart. Link is in the show notes. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of the podcast. And today we are talking about the Ajna Center. And remember that centers are parts of the chart that are energetically in charge of certain themes in your life. In episode 3, I believe, I gave an overview of all of the centers, and we're now diving into each center individually. And again, today is the Ajna Center. And in BG5, which is the business application of human design, this center is referred to as the conceptualization function. It tells you a little bit about what it does. The Ajna Center takes the inspiration and the thoughts and the information that get filtered down from the head center, which we talked about in last week's episode, and then it conceptualizes them. It creates frameworks and opinions and thoughts that are then ready to be expressed through the throat center, which we'll talk about next week. And together, the head and the Ajna actually create your mind. And depending on how these centers are configured, you're going to operate a little bit differently. And the Ajna Center is in about 47% of the population. The Ajna is defined or fixed. And in the other 53%, it is undefined or more fluid. And if you look at your body graph, the center, the second one from the top, and usually it is shown as a downward facing triangle, but there's newer software out there that is kind of changing all of these things, but it's the second one from the top. And if it is colored in, you have it defined. And if it is in white or not colored in, you have it undefined. And neither one of those is good or bad. They are just different. And one of my mentors always likes to say equal power, but different. So it is, neither one is good or bad. And whichever one you have is what you get to work with. So again, the Ajna Center is very much about conceptualization and translating the inspiration that came from the head center, which then comes out through the throat center. And when you have this center defined or colored in, which I do, you're going to have a more fixed way of thinking and processing information than if it's undefined. And the defined Ajna has a tendency to think a lot. So a defined center is like a center that's on all the time. It is consistent, it is reliable, it is there all the time. And the way that you process information is fairly reliable, and you process information in a consistent way. Depending on how it's configured for you, it could be more logical, it could be a little bit more abstract, it could be more individual, or a combination of those things, but it is fixed. You generally process information in the same way. If it is undefined, then this center is not operating in a way that is consistent all the time, and you might find that you process information in different ways depending on who you're around and who might be influencing you here. With a defined center, you're actually less likely to be influenced by the way other people are conceptualizing information or by their thoughts, their opinions, their theories, their concepts, than if you have it undefined. And with the defined center, you might have been called stubborn. You might be familiar with that. I know I am. And if you have it undefined, you actually are naturally more open-minded and more open to different perspectives and ways of seeing information. Now, the Ajna Center is one of three awareness centers. The other two are the spleen. Spleen is physical awareness, the solar plexus, which is about emotional and spiritual awareness, and we'll cover those later in the series. The Ajna Center is about mental awareness, and a lot of this is how we perceive the world around us. And the way that we perceive the world around us is very much influenced by the meanings that we make about the things that have happened to us in our lives. And sometimes we can make really good, positive, beneficial meanings, and sometimes we can make negative meanings. So I'll give an example from my own life. My parents got divorced when I was 4 years old. And so my little 4-year-old mind made this mean something that didn't really benefit me. One day my parents were together and they were there all the time. And then one day all of a sudden my dad was not really there a lot. And so my little 4-year-old mind made that mean something about me, like I'm not good enough, my dad doesn't love me, men can't be trusted or relied upon. I made all of these meanings up in my little 4-year-old mind. And of course, these meanings dictated how I perceive the world, and especially men. As you can imagine, that didn't serve me for a very long time. And this is a big reason why we do not want to use the mind to make decisions, because those decisions then will be based on negative limiting beliefs, meanings that we have made that are absolutely not true. The meanings that I made about this were absolutely not true. My dad absolutely loved me, did not leave me. Actually, it was my mom that left my dad. And regardless of that, it didn't have anything to do with me. So it took a lot of time of deconditioning that. And as I deconditioned that over the years, it very much changed my relationship with men in a beautiful way, and my relationship with my dad. So that, just taking that into consideration is because our limiting beliefs live here. This is one big reason we do not want to make decisions from the mind. And a lot of times when we make mentally based decisions, we might be using logic or rationalization or any of these other things, and they're influenced by our limiting beliefs. We can question those decisions for the rest of our lives. And this is why strategy and authority is so important and one of the most beautiful and practical aspects of human design. And I went over the strategy for all the different types in the types episodes. And then I went over all the authorities individually as well. Now, having your Ajna defined, again, you are more consistent about your conceptualization. You're also a little bit more thick-headed. And it can take you potentially a little bit longer to change your beliefs and your opinions. You might need to be a little bit more stubborn about it, which is helpful since you're naturally a little bit stubborn. But doing the important deconditioning work that is correct for you and really sticking to it is really important. And when you do change those limiting beliefs, when you do decondition in this area, you can make really big, like quantum leaps in your belief system and how you perceive the world as a result. If you have this center undefined, it's actually going to be a little bit easier for you to change those meanings through the deconditioning process. And you won't be as likely to hold on to those meanings as somebody who has the center defined. The defined center also, the Ajna is your mental filing system. So having consistent access to this information might mean that you have a better memory. I personally have an amazing memory for certain things, not for everything. I will say, I know people that have the Ajna and they had undefined and have photographic memories. So you can take that one with a grain of salt. I have a lot of times experienced people with an undefined Ajna may not hold on to information as well. And I know for me personally, I have a fairly good memory for specific things, especially based on how my Ajna is configured. If you have this center undefined in its low expression, and remember everything operates on a spectrum, low expression to high expression. In the low expression, you can become a little bit mentally defensive and feel like you really want to be certain about things, and you're actually not really designed because you are more mentally flexible. You're not designed to be certain about things. You are open to changing your perspective based on the information that comes into you, and that is totally okay. And it's absolutely beautiful. And I will give an example. So like I said, neither is better or worse, and we are actually designed to work together. And my really good friend, Debbie, who is also a human design professional, has an open Ajna. And when I need, well, it's undefined, it's not completely open. So a little bit of a distinction there. She does have activations, gates defined on it. But when I when I get stuck in a perspective that seems limiting, I will take that perspective to Debbie and she helps me see it from different perspectives. And I am so grateful for that wisdom and that openness in her. And then Debbie, sometimes when she comes to me and she needs something that comes out of my fixed, reliable, consistent filing cabinet of the mind, she might come to me as something maybe in a course that we've taken together or just something where, maybe she may have forgotten. She could research it if she needed to. But she knows I'll probably have the answer. So she'll come to me and I will give her the answer. And that's how she takes advantage of my defined ajna. So again, neither one is better or worse. They're just different. They all have their benefits. And the important aspect to remember is that we want to really work on that deconditioning process. And we want to step into that place of using this center in its highest expression. And that's going to look different for us depending on if it is defined, fixed, or undefined, more fluid, more flexible, and more open. And you also want to work on that beautiful deconditioning work to make sure that you are holding the best possible meanings about the things that have happened to you in your life. If you have the center defined, you will find yourself thinking all of the time. The center is on for you all the time, and you are definitely meant to be a thinker. And in its high expression, you're going to really enjoy that thought process. And in slow expression, you can get into like mental loops and thinking the same thing over and over and over again and not being able to come out of that. You might find yourself having mental dialogue or, rehashing decisions that you made mentally about like, what if I did this or what if I did this? Just something to be aware of. Becoming aware of your thoughts is really helpful in the deconditioning process. Just noticing, oh, what am I thinking right now? And how is that making me feel? What is my experience in my body based on my thoughts? With this center defined, you may also struggle with quieting your mind, and silent meditation might be really hard for you. And that doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile endeavor. It is helpful to be able to quiet our thoughts, especially if we're stuck in negative loops. However, you may find that you actually do a lot better with meditations that are based on things like mantras, or guided meditation, something where your mind has a little something to grab onto versus things like Vipassana meditation, where the goal is really to quiet your mind. I personally absolutely love Yoga Nidra. And if you don't know what Yoga Nidra is, you might assume because it has the word yoga in it that it's a movement practice. And it is not. It's actually a meditative practice that you lie down for. With the defined ajna, lying down can actually help you with quieting the mind a little bit more and having it be a little bit less active than when you're sitting up. And Yoga Nidra is just a beautiful way of doing this type of meditation. It is guided. You will have something to experience with your mind, but also in a really beautiful and quiet way. And if that is something that speaks to you, I love Insight Timer for Yoga Nidra. I have several Yoga Nidras that I offer myself on Insight Timer, and there are so many beautiful ones on there and all kinds of guided meditations that are extremely beneficial for the defined ajna. I will drop a link in the show notes. And if your ajna is undefined or open, you may find that you actually do amazing with things like Vipassana meditation and really being able to empty your mind completely. So that might just be the ideal practice for you. And I always encourage you to use your strategy and authority to find what is correct for you. So that's it for today. That's it for the Ajna Center. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode where we will talk about the throat center. Have a beautiful day.
If you want to dive deeper, I invite you to get a free human design mini reading report at vanessanaja.com/free mini reading or book a human design reading with me. Links are in the show notes. That's it for today's episode. I know your time is important and I'm so grateful you chose to spend it with me. It would mean the world to me if you engage with the episode by liking, subscribing, commenting, and letting me know any questions you have or what else you'd like to learn about. And the absolute best compliment is if you share with someone you think will benefit. It really helps me spread the message. Love and blessings to you.